Welcome to the February edition of the Tempo Storm Shadowverse Meta Snapshot. A month into Eightfold Abyss Azvaldt, the meta has stabilized, lists have been refined, and each deck's strengths have become clear. At the top of Tier 1 sits the trio of Sefiroon, Last Word Shadow, and Loot Sword, who stand above all other decks thanks to their level of consistency. Matchups between the three are relatively even, making matchup knowledge and experience the deciding factor in games between them. In this meta, skill is key. Previous contenders Discard Dragon and Puppet Portal have fallen off in popularity as players became accustomed to playing against them. However, a couple of dark horses remain. Spellboost Rune, while having a more polarized matchup spread than Sefi, can still threaten a win over any of the top decks with its sheer high roll potential. Hazumi Forest, while suffering from an inconsistent linear game plan, likewise holds potential as a counterpick due to its favorable matchups versus Loot and Sefi. Let's take a closer look at how each of these decks have developed. While Last Word Shadow had definitively re-entered the meta last month, deck lists were still unrefined and a meta build had yet to be decided upon. Now things have settled down and Last Word's lists show less variance. In particular, Gilnelis Ravenous Craving has solidified itself as a key card that can allow Shadow to sustain and play like a combo deck when it needs to. Overall, the game plan is to draw as many cards as possible in the early game with cards such as Azvaldt, Thunder God of the Tempest, and Hugin and Mugen while dealing with your opponent's boards, then finish them off with big card destruction / storm combos after you've reached 10 last words. Loot Sword retains all the strength it showed last month, having an excellent matchup spread and plenty of room for skill expression. Taking advantage of early game ambush followers to push face damage means that between Barbaros, Briny Convict, Stormracked First Mate, and the Dread Pirate's flag token, the deck can threaten OTKs as early as turn 7. Meanwhile, General Maximus, Opulent Strategist, and Storm-Racked First Mate allow it to play for board just as well. For those interested in learning the deck, players Paper Flare and Buttercup have written an extensive guide which you can view here. Since its debut last month, Sefiroon has gone on to win multiple tournaments, and it's usually the most represented deck in top cuts. What seems to set Sefi apart is its draw consistency and ability to adapt in this board-based meta. It has enough board pressure to be played aggressively, enough defensive and healing options to recover when on the back foot, and an OTK to end the game in one turn when necessary. Sefi lists have undergone some significant developments which you can read about below. Spellboost no longer stands at the pinnacle of the meta. Its matchup spread and consistency are not as appealing as that of Sefi, Loot, and Last Words, meaning it's seen less tournament representation than Top Trio has. However, nothing about Spellboost itself has actually changed. It still boasts the fastest burst potential of all decks in the meta and can put any other deck out of the game before it has a chance to respond, provided it's put together the combo pieces to do so. This means that Spellboost can't be counted out as a Tier 1 deck, and in the right hands, it still represents as much of a threat as ever. Hazumi Forest is a deck centered around its titular card, with the objective being to generate the strongest possible one-turn tempo swing by playing 4 cards followed by Hazumi, Enchanting Hostess. Its ability to counter board-based decks like Sefiroon and Loot Sword make it a dark horse in the meta, and it has shown strong potential as a tournament counterpick. Hazumi players must be careful to have a good read on what decks they'll be playing into, however, as it struggles immensely versus combo decks like Spellboost, which do not rely on a board. It should come as no surprise that we strongly recommend both Sefiroon and Last Word Shadow. Both are Tier 1 decks with well-rounded matchup spreads, both are simple enough to pick up while maintaining a high skill ceiling, and both are centered around mostly newly released cards with nothing vitally important to either rotating out soon. Loot Sword, on the other hand, is more challenging to learn, but for those who value skill expression above all else, it can't be beat. And with Octress rotating out in 2 months, it's unclear whether there will still be a chance to play the deck once this expansion has passed. If you've an interest in the deck, better try it out while you can. In the coming weeks, we predict expect that the meta will remain roughly as it is now, shuffling through the top 3 decks with occasional appearances from the likes of Hazumi. It's unlikely there will be any big waves of change until the release of the mini expansion, which we hold out hope will include more support for neglected fun, high skill ceiling archetypes such as Neo Roach with Whirlwind Assault. With the meta settled and deck lists becoming more streamlined, it's time to worry less about what to play and more about how to play it, especially with SVO 2023 being right around the corner. This is the absolute best window to learn and master the meta-defining decks, and guides for each of these and more useful information will soon be published here on TempoStorm.com and on Zif's YouTube channel, so keep an eye out. See you all in next month's edition of the Tempo Storm Shadowverse Meta Snapshot.